If your aim feels very inconsistent and you're just not hitting the shots where you should be, this is basically going to be a beginner's guide on how to actually master or perfect or improve your raw aim. This is going to have to do nothing with strafing, counter strafing, or finding your perfect sense. There are a lot of videos, as you can see, just searching up on YouTube about aim, movement, etc. etc. So there's not going to be a video about finding your sense, more on after you found your sense, how to improve on it. So of course what you would do is you want to download Aim Labs. You can get on Steam, it's free. After that, what you want to do is you want to go in your search browser, search up VOLTAIC Valorant, and this is going to be more specifically towards Valorant. Of course, it's probably going to be in the title. And then you'll see voltaic.gg. You click on it, you click assess aim. Takes a while to load, and then you should get the Valorant benchmarks. You probably will have to sign up, but that's what you have to do. Really, it's really easy and everything's free. You shouldn't have to pay for anything. So if there's anything saying you have to pay for it, then it's a scam. But it's really easy to find the site. I'll even put the link in the description as well. But then you'll have free benchmarks, and obviously Novice, Intermediate, Advanced is basically easy, medium, and hard. So you can see I finished gold already, and I'm on to trying to hit ascendant. But we're going to be focusing on the Novice benchmarks because there's going to be more beginner's guide on, trying to perfect the aim, what issues you might have, etc. etc. So to play the playlist, you click play. There should be a prompt saying, "Are you sure you want to open this?" And then you click yes, and then it'll just load in the playlist for you. There are 21 scenarios, and I'm going to be doing this completely raw. So if I do stutter or slow, I apologize for that. But I will be trying my best to give you guys basically what to do, what not to do, etc. Because I'm still learning to improve. I have gotten better, and I know there's a lot of mistakes, especially as a beginner, that I wish I had someone told me when I was first training. So starting off with float shot, it's going to be really simple. It's going to be different size spheres or bowls. I'm just going to call them bowls. And they're just going to be floating around the map like this. They only go in one direction, either left or right, as you can see, and they move really slow, so it's not too bad. So if you're really struggling to track it, you're kind of being behind them and you're clicking behind them like that, you're struggling, you're trying to micro adjust or flick to it, what you want to do is you just want to let the balls walk into your crosshair like that. Try get ahead of them and click like that if you're really struggling, and then from there try to be a bit more quicker in the sense of do the same thing, let them walk into crosshair, but be a bit more accurate. Don't over flick it, don't under flick it too much. Just try let them gain your crosshair, but try do it quicker. Then you can slowly try click on the dots as soon as you get more and more comfortable with the speed, because they are going very slow. But if you have problems with shakiness like this, you either might need to turn down your sense or you need to work on your grip. Those two variable factors can definitely affect your aim, because if I palm grip it, there's not much finger, usually if you palm grip you don't use your fingers. I'm going to be showing that now. I won't use my fingers at all. It's not going to be, I can still hit the shots, but it's going to be harder because I can't micro adjust. I can't make those tiny movements. It takes a lot of focus for me to make those tiny movements, especially for a beginner. It can be really hard, because that's why I used to suck a lot at Valorant, because I wasn't able to make those tiny adjustments, especially because I was playing on a really high sense. And that kind of messed me up. But yeah, just let it walk into your crosshair, and once you start getting more and more confident with it, start trying to flick with your arm to them and slightly micro adjust. So I'm explaining that one. So it's you flick with your arm, you might over flick or under flick. You don't have to go too fast, you don't have to go like that, you don't have to go, just go at your comfortable speed where you're at. And then you try to use your fingers or wrist and just click on them. And like I said, try get in front of them as much as you can, because it gives you the time to micro adjust and you just have to move it slightly to the right, because if I, let's say if I flick it to here and I'm under it, I will have to try like follow it, which is tracking, which you don't want to do for this one. This one, you want to think of it as like static in a sense, but then moving slightly. But once you get comfortable, once you get more confident in hitting your shots, you can start picking up the pace and you can definitely hit the score. Now, arguably, I think this is the hardest scenario to do. This is the one I struggle with the most because it's very random. Like, you will have 4 balls just floating in the air, but they, as you can see, they move randomly. They don't go left and right like the float shot. They kind of just move a bit of everywhere. So I would say try to predict where they're going. As you can see, they're just going in. Some of them go in a straight line, then they move a little bit, then they go in a straight line again. And that's what you want to try to do. You want to try read the direction they're going and try flick to them, but don't take the shot, especially if you feel like you're missing a lot. Because normally when I play Pasu, I end up flicking to Thingy and it just moves randomly, and I'm like, they're like trying to click it 3 times, and you end up losing a lot of score. And I do have to warn, you do lose score if you do miss. So that's why accuracy is way more important than speed, because let's say even if I get like 4 here, but like I'm whiffing a lot in this one, my accuracy just went down and I'd lost about 30-40 points just from doing that. So for this one, I say just take your really take your time if you're struggling with this one, and then slowly you'll start to see like how they behave, how they move, and then you can slowly go up the speed. But I do want to say, don't get too overconfident, because when I was aim training, I would start hitting my shots and then I would start to go faster. And every time I did that, I would end up doing the same thing where I'll just kind of give like an exaggeration now. So it's like, you know, I was hitting my shots and then I'll just, yeah, like just like that. I would just like start whiffing and I'll be like, okay, I need to concentrate again. Start hitting my shots and I'm like whiffing again. Then I start like hitting my shots again, but then I start whiffing. And it's really bad to do that because you're not improving yourself, because you're losing that accuracy again. You're like improving, but then you're making the same mistake. So just focus on that accuracy, but slowly gain the speed. Okay, now we got a just shot where it's really simple, and I'm gonna give the technique on how to actually hit a high score, because a lot of what I did as well was I would hit this and I'll see like, oh, this ball is like really close, so I'll click it. That's not what you want to do, because as you can see, sometimes they do spawn like really each other, but then this one's just floating. It's like, oh, what's the point of me going for this one if like they're spawning so close to each other and I don't have to move my arm? The problem is you're going for one target when really you should be going for both. So it's like, if I go for, so let me explain properly. You see there's 2 balls, so you know where they both are, so it's easy. So me trying to figure out where the next one is and going like that, I can go from here to here straight away. Then I know where this one is because I just saw it spawn in. I can go from this one, missed that one, this, that, and this is how it should look like. And also another good tip is, if you miss a shot, don't worry about it, just go to the next one and then just carry on like that, because sometimes you are gonna miss. Even the best aimers are gonna miss. It doesn't really matter. But what you do is you want to keep up. Sorry. Using my throat dry. What you want to do is you want to keep up the tempo. So it's like boom, 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 boom. And that's what you just want to do. You want to keep up that tempo. So even if I miss here, I go back to it because I know where it is already. And yeah, you can just start clicking. And it does move a tiny bit, the ball, as you probably noticed. So this is where the micro adjustments come in a little bit, because once you flick to it, it might move off your crosshair like that, but then you can use your fingers just to like readjust and take your time with it. Like really take your time with this. Like I said, accuracy is way more important than speed. Speed is important, but it will really mess you up if you just go for speed, because when you end up not really improving, you kind of end up in a cycle of like, oh, I'm just missing my shots, I'm not getting these high scores, when you should even worry about the scores in the beginning. Now for V dots, this one's really self-explanatory. It's basically you have 4 orbs, just standing anywhere. It's gonna be like here, they could be there, in the middle, on the left. And what we do is it's gonna be a lot of wrist and finger. You're gonna have to use your wrist and fingers a lot to micro adjust, because what you have to do is, let's say I have to go from here to there. Let's say if this ball didn't exist, I would go from there, but for this example, I'm just gonna go from here to there. So what you want to do is, after you kill this one, you need to flick fast, but then after you need to micro adjust as well. And for me, you can turn up the FOV to make it easier for you, because then you can see everything on screen. But for me, I'm keeping it on the Valorant FOV just because it's a Valorant benchmark and I want to improve in Valorant. So you can just turn up the slider here to about, I'd say 124, which is way too much probably. But you can basically see everything, and then you can easily do it. It might be a little bit harder because you have to micro adjust a little bit more precise, because the balls are smaller because of the FOV. But from there, you just have to do it. You don't have to do it quick. Just take your time with it. And also, another thing, if you get a one of these orbs, like one shot, and you flick to another one, don't try to flick it back, because you end up just losing score. Because look, if I finish this off, I'm only gonna get the 5 points. It's 25 points per kill. So let's say if I get this one shot, let's flick here. Unless there's another one here, there's no reason for me to swipe back to this one or to the left side, because you just get less score. So like, I killed this one, all the orbs are here, so I can just quickly finish that off and then go for the other ones, which will be it's gonna improve your score way more than if you hyper focus on like missing one. Don't worry if you miss, just keep up that tempo, just try to be as accurate as possible, because from those errors you'll learn and you'll improve from there. It's basically 4 scenarios in one. And so you're gonna have 2 dots, and it's gonna be the same thing as the adjustment shot. It's where you shoot one, another one pops up, and yeah, and it's gonna be the same thing. There's gonna be 2, so you just go flick to the other one that's already spawned in, and you just do the same thing again. And I apologize if I'm whiffing shots. I've just woken up and I was like, yo, I feel like making a video. And then this one, you don't really have to think too much. I'd say just go for the ones that are closest to your crosser, or the ones you feel confident you can flick to. And if you don't feel confident at all, that's not a problem. Just focus on that accuracy. There's not too much to say. It's just click heads, basically. And then this one, there is a technique with this. What you want to do is, I'm not going to go too in-depth about it, but all this one is really is a straight line. So as you can see, they all stay in a straight line. So I would say mainly use your arm and the wrist just to basically make a straight line like that, and you can easily beat the scores. It is hard, and the same as just my shot, where there's 2, and after you shoot one, you go for the one you go for the second one, and then you go for the other one that spawned in from the first one. It is hard, I would say. That one, that's the one I feel like I struggle with, because I have to basically keep a straight line and be accurate. But like I said, take your time with it. There's no rush for it. It did take me weeks to improve. And also this one is going to be 2 really small balls, and they're basically just going to be floating. And I would say just focus on the big ones first if you feel like you struggle on the really small ones. Then slowly try to go for the big ones as soon as you start getting the smaller ones, once you start getting a bit more comfortable, because that's what I did when I first tried this. because my grip was really bad. I literally gonna hit the small ones to save the life of me. Now we're onto the full shots. And full shots, it's like the third phase, but it's gonna be 4 orbs on the wall. And the thing, I think this is the most fun one because it really shows your speed and precision. Because as you can see here, I wouldn't say there's really a technique. I just go for the ones that are clumped up, like grouped together and closest. And if they spread out like that, I would say, as you saw, I kind of put in my head a line to do. So I go from here, down here, then down there. I kind of put in my head how I'm gonna move my mouse and how much I need to actually move it to, you know, hit those targets. But after a while, when you start getting better scores, the orbs will get smaller. As you can see, they're getting smaller and smaller. They can get really, really small, especially if you're going for those really high scores. But don't stress about it. Just worry about hitting your shots, because you will lose points if you miss, like you're seeing now. And it's really not worth it, because you can get a really good score, but if you're missing a lot of shots, then you're gonna feel like, oh, I'm not doing good enough, or I feel like, oh, this is a waste of time, like, what am I doing wrong? And if you feel like you're getting bad score, or you're not getting a score that you feel like you should be getting, it's because, check your accuracy. Even like, see, I have 84%, which means I probably lost about a good chunk of my score, maybe about 30 or 40, and I could have easily hit 700. And that's why I don't want you guys, I don't want that happen to you guys, where you actually could beat gold or silver or get to the next rank, wherever it is, and just because you whiffed, you end up, you know, not getting it, which can be really annoying. For this one is basically one orb spawns in, and after you click it, another one spawns in straight away. And there's not really much to say about this. It's more about flick, speed, and precision. Well, I don't really have a technique for this. I just kind of flick to this side, and then I know the other one's gonna spawn to the left, so it only goes like left, right, or right, left. They'll never, you know, be the same orb on the same side each time, as you can see. It's just more about reacting to, you know, where it spawns in, and you have time with this. They will disappear after, like, I'd say about 2 seconds. So don't stress too much. If you feel like you're missing, it just means you need to improve your speed a little bit, which is fine. Or you feel like you're not, okay, I'll say 2 things about this. If you feel like you're missing, it means you need to improve your position, because you probably got the speed, but you don't have the precision. But if you feel like you're not getting to the target and it disappears, you need to improve your speed. But there's not really too much to say about this. It's just precision and flicks. So it's like, I already know it's going to be on the left side here. There's not really too much technique to do with this. I'll just say, just flick with either your wrist or your arm, then try to find out what a ball orb is. Like, for me personally, I just know what an orb is. As you can see, I flicked straight away. I was trying to find an orb. I saw the orb and I just micro adjust to it. So it's like that. I didn't even know it was going to be that close. I just flicked to this side and I go for the orb. Okay, for 1T11, I would say this is probably the I won't say the hardest one. I think Angle Shot's the hardest, but I'll say this one is the one I struggle with as well. I believe I'm only hit plat on this one. 1T1, yeah. I didn't even hit plat for this one. Struggle with this one, don't worry about it. But basically, essentially, all it is gonna be the same as the wider flex shot, but the orbs move and they're all in different sizes. The same as the wider shot, it's just that they move and it's gonna be more about precision, and they're gonna come from different angles. They could be down here, they could be all the way left, and they do disappear after a while if you don't hit your shots, if you don't hit. And I'll say just worry about the accuracy, because if you miss, you will lose score as well, and you do get a good amount of points from hitting your shots. I think it's about 100, right? Something like that. I'm not sure. I think you get 100 per score. So like if you do whiff, you end up like, because you have less accuracy, you end up getting less points. So it doesn't really help. So just worry about accuracy. If you feel like you're not getting to the targets before they disappear, don't worry about it, because even like I said, I whiff as well. It is very hard because it's like they could be there, they could be there, could be in the middle. Also, just worry about flicking to where the target is, and I think that would definitely help improve, because it's like if you don't know, if you're like panicking, you're like doing this, you know, like if you're like over flanking, like oh shit, it's there. Like if you're expecting it to be somewhere, don't expect, just react. Don't think about it, just react. For the next scenario, it's going to be the micro shots, and this one, it's going to be really similar to the angle shots, where it's going to be orbs just floating, and they don't move as randomly, but they do move up and down slightly, and they go left and right way faster. So I would say try predict where they're moving. So like I feel like this one's going to go down, up. It's this one's just more about prediction. So let's say if an enemy is like counter strafing in angle where they can go up and down, where there's like a slant, they're like hiding behind a slant, and let's say if there's like you can barely just see their heads, this is gonna be really helpful into helping you hit a shot that's like not impossible but a really hard shot. So for this one, take your time, same as the others, and just try hit them. They don't really go up and down too much. It's more about the lefts and rights, so you need to worry about, because they will random change, because you can end up under flicking or over flicking. But I would say under flicking is going to be probably way worse for this scenario, just because you feel like your crosshair might be on the target, but because it's moving, again like the float shot, you're going to end up missing. But at some point, once you get more comfortable with the, you know, hitting the targets, I'll say just learn about the prediction. If you feel like you just can't hit these, try learn how they move, and try, I wouldn't say track, but I would say just try predict where they're gonna go. And also you can flick like this, as you want to do with the 1-2s, where you already know where the second one is, so you just flick to it. Because if you end up just going for one, like you won't get a horrible score, but if it ends up going down here when I can just go for this one here, you're just gonna end up like stuttering. You're gonna be like panicking, which you don't want to panic or hesitate. And yeah, once, like I said guys, if you get a bad score, it doesn't matter, just move on to the next one. Also, this is gonna be the same as the micro shots that we just did, but they're gonna be way smaller but a lot more slower. I would say mainly use your fingers for this. I mainly use my fingers for this, and you don't really need to move too much. It's more about being precise, in my opinion. Of course you're gonna need the speed for the high scores, but once you start getting more comfortable in your shots, you can easily feel more confident just to hit your shots. Because the reason why you want to focus more on accuracy, especially with this one, is because if I'm going for speed, right, like I'm not really gonna hit the shots, because I hit my shots there, but you're not really gonna, because more time is gonna be more like end up being like this, where you're like double tapping, like really trying to hit it, because you're not always gonna hit your first shot. So I'm still taking my time when I'm hitting my shots. Like, I'm still macroing a lot. You see, if I'm just going for speed, there's no precision in my aim. So once you start mastering more with the micro adjustments, that's where you can start going faster. Because then, if it's like building up the speed. Once you start slow, you start going faster and faster, until you end up just getting really used to it. Because the more scenarios you do it, the more you get used to the spawns, how far you need to move your mouse or micro adjust to hit the next target. Sky click, arguably, I would say this is more like in the medium range. It's going to be very hard. I don't know why I'm tryharding now, but it's going to be hard because these things, they move randomly. It's like left and right strafes, it's not too bad, but they can do a weird long strafe, especially if let's say if I kill this one. As you saw, before I killed it, it literally did like a long strafe and then went off my crosshair. So this one is going to be the same with the micro adjustments, is where it's, I wouldn't say you have to track it. I would say it's a mix of tracking, but also controlling your shots. Because if I'm just like shooting, then I'm just going to end up missing, which means I'm going to lose my score. But if you end up just like really staring into it, you like really focus hard, what they're going to be, you can end up starting getting more comfortable with these like really small micro adjustments. And once you do that, I feel like this becomes way easier. So it's like, be careful how much you tense up, because if you tense up too much, of course that's gonna hurt your hand and your accuracy. But for me, personally, I do tense quite a bit if I have to really move slow, because it gives me more control. Might not be the same for you, but because I have a heavier mouse, I do tense up, and it doesn't really hurt me or anything. Tension is not really a bad thing to have, I want to say that now. It's more about if you're like gripping a muscle like that, like if you're holding it for dear life. Like, this is my normal grip, this is what happens when I tense. Like, you will feel it right here in your wrist where I'm tensing. That's where I do most of my left and rights, like micros in my wrist and my fingers. I feel it in the tips as well. But if you're holding it to a point where it's like really uncomfortable, like you're curling your hand or anything like that, you need to like stop, do it again, restart, and try to ease the tension. Because I understand trying to hit the score you want, especially if you're like really close to beating your high score that you got last time, you can really start tensing up and it can really throw you off. So I'll say tension is okay, but don't tense so much to the point where it's like your fingers are stuck and lock in place, or your hand starts to hurt after, like, I don't know, if you do the same scenario about 5 minutes and your hand starts to hurt, that's when you need to like let go of the tension. Like, if you feel pain anywhere in your hand, stop it. Okay, so for this one, it's gonna be the same as the mini phase second wave, the second scenario, where it's just, you just have to click random dots on screen. Like, some of them can be massive, some of them can be big, and I would say I would mainly focus on the ones that are closest to the screen. Whatever is like easier for you to hit target, I'll say go for it. And if you're struggling with the small ones, I'd say only go for the big ones first. Then when there's no more big ones, go for the small ones, and then slowly keep doing that, rinse and repeat, and go for the ones that are closest as well. So say this one's big, this one's big. See, now all of them are basically small. I would focus on hitting the small ones and being really slow and smooth with it, especially if you struggle with the micros. So like for the bigger ones, I'll probably flick to them more so. Like if I see like a massive one, I'm gonna flick to it. Like, I'm not just gonna move like that. I'm still gonna take my time, because you don't need to move too much, because they're all gonna be clustered here. Mainly, some of them can go out like this, or some of them can go out like that, but it's not too much of a situation or problem. I just realized I never changed back my FOV. But yes, slowly you will just start hitting way more shots like that. So you can increase the FOV if you want to, and keep it like that. But for me personally, because this is Valorant benchmarks, it just makes more sense for me to have it on 103, just because I'm improving Valorant. So I would say personally, if you want to challenge yourself, keep it at 103. If you want to just improve your aim, just in general, put it on higher FOV. It'll definitely make life a lot more easier. But don't put it so high where the orbs are like really tiny, So you basically just have to micro adjust everything, because especially if they're like really far apart, trying to hit a really tiny target is it actually, like, let's say if I put max FFV on a just shot, it can end up just making me lose score because I have to really be precise when there is no need for it. I'm sorry. For VT mini T's, this one is a weird one. This one really threw me off. It's basically a tracking scenario in a sense. It's like target switching, like the dots. So as you can hear, you have to do track it, because if you hit it once and you get off it, it will regenerate health. So like I hit twice, I'm hitting it twice. Okay, maybe they don't regenerate health, but if you do end up whiffing like that, okay, they do regenerate health. Okay, they regenerate health. So if you whiff or you don't track it good enough, you won't end up getting the points, because you know it's regenerating health. So this one really helps with being more consistent. So with this one, it's gonna be like the sky click, but the best part about this, it's not gonna move erratically. It's just gonna be slowly going from left to right. And so if you struggle with this, I'd say focus more on the tracking. Like, don't even shoot the boss, just focus on like following the ball if you're really struggling to track it. And then try like learn to do that while also flicking. So it should end up being like something like this, where it's like you track, you flick, you track, you flick, you track, you flick. I would say try. I would say it doesn't even matter if you over flick or under flick. I'll say it's just more about, like, let's say if I over flick this, I could try just micro adjust to it, because that's all it is really with these Valorant scenarios. A lot of micro adjustments, because you do need that really good precision to actually, you know, hit headshots, especially if it's far range, close, long. And you can't just spray guns in Valorant, because, you know, it's not like Call of Duty where, you know, you have a set recoil. It's going to be random, so it's really good, especially if you just hold down. And also, you don't lose points in this. I should probably mention that long time ago. I'll probably put like text on the screens, like easy, hard mode. That's what I'm thinking of doing. But yeah, I just want to say right now, you can literally just hold the M1 button. You'll lose accuracy, but you don't lose any points from it. And it doesn't really matter if you lose accuracy, because it's not about accuracy for this one. It's more about the score. Of course, accuracy does matter to an extent, but it's like even the, let's say, top one here only has 45%, and I had 33%. So it doesn't matter. Like, you just hold M1. It's more about just the flicks and getting the high score for this one, and being consistent with your shots and tracking, because accuracy really doesn't matter for this one, because it's not, you don't lose any points from being less accurate. Okay, for this one is the Micro T Sophia, and all it is basically there's going to be 2 orbs, and it's going to be the same as adjustment shot, but it's going to be more for your micro adjustments. So it's like this. I don't say just focus on your micros. Like, I feel like if you play on a really low sense, I think you'll be fine. I think it's 10 times easier to do on a lower sense, because you guys get to use your wrist and arm a lot more, which means you'll be way more accurate. But personally for me, because I have my fingers, it's like really easy for me to just control, because I'm so used to it. But so just focus mainly on your micro adjustments. Focus on hitting your shots, especially if you struggle. So if you struggle, just focus on the accuracy like the other ones, because you will lose score if you miss. And it's nothing too crazy. It's very simple. And also, if you guys have any questions, please let me know in the description. I'll try to help on my best, or I'll make a video about it, because I'm trying to improve myself while also learning. But I'm also trying to help people improve as well. Not people improve, but I'm trying to help people improve. I'm trying to help myself as well, because There's a lot of things I could probably learn from someone that's not as good as an aimer from me, or like someone could be literally radiant and they just don't know how to do VOLTAIC. But yeah, sorry. For peak shot, Valorant easy. It's simple. There's gonna be a blue square in the middle, and once you click it, there's gonna be a random ball orb coming from either from the middle, from the top, from the bottom, and they come in different sizes as well. So some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are like really big. And I'll say this practice your like able and stability, just to, like, it's like it practices your consistency to like flick and recenter, which recentering is going to help you a lot in Valorant, especially because let's say if I shoot someone like all the way here, if I'm able to recenter my mouse back to my cursor, and let's say someone like comes from the left and walks up into it, then boom, that's like an easy kill that I even try for. Don't always have to recenter, but it's probably best, especially if you're aiming a lot more lower or higher in game in a fight. But yeah, this is self-explanatory. Just click the blue box every time you get a kill, and then you go back to the blue box again. Nothing too hard. Okay, for microclusters, it's going to be the same thing as the micro 2 Sophia, with those two small orbs in the middle. But for this one, it's a weird one. So it's going to be a square, and it's going to be the same where you just have to micro adjust. They're all going to be really small targets. They don't move. And you just have to slowly click them. And then you don't have to flick initially, but I would say it's probably the best thing to flick if it's further. So like that, I would say my technique is if it's moving 2 boxes far, so it should be like 1 box, 1 box, 1 box, 1 box. It's like 4 boxes. Unless it's 2 boxes far, there's no reason to flick. So if it's here, so if let's say if I just finish one here, there's no reason for me to flick like that. It's just better for me to flick onto the nearest target and then move on from there. But if it's 2 boxes like that, flick. If it's 2 boxes like that, flick. 2 boxes, flick. If it's 1, don't do what I just did. I didn't even mean to flick there, but I won't flick. I would say for this one, just take your time with it. Because it is making you micro adjust, and you have to like make a big move and micro adjust again. I'd say just take your time with it, as same as the other ones. Just be slow, steady and slow. Yeah, I clicked on the wrong one. Apologize. Excuse me. Okay, so for micro pace. Wait, did I miss one? Oh yeah, I missed micro pace. I apologize for that. So with micro pace, essentially all it is you click a dot and it moves. It doesn't move erratically. It does move erratically. It can either go left, right, up, down, or both. It usually goes both. It will go slightly left and down, or slightly left and up, or slightly right and up, or right and down. Like, it just goes all in a straight line together. So it goes like up and down diagonally. And then it's not too hard. There's 2 phases. After 30 seconds, it will spawn in a new orb, and it's same thing really. You just have to learn to not predict, but I would say react to where it's moving and try flick. So after I click it, instead of just waiting for it to go to another one, you kind of follow it in a sense like this, where it's like I'm waiting for it to move. I'm trying to process it in my head where it's gonna go and how it moved, and then I'm trying to like follow it before I even realize, because they don't really, let me restart this, because they don't really move erratically. It almost the same. Like it moves in different directions, of course, but it moves in like the same distance, so it's not too bad really. Like as you can see, it's all moving the same direction. So it's like so once after you get a few practices on it, you can definitely easily just like start to realize, okay, it moved to the left, so I need to move my mouse like this much, or move to the right, I need to move my mouse this much, and then you can use your fingers to go up and down. to whatever direction it is. So it makes you can definitely easily hit a high score for this one. And if you don't, doesn't matter. Just take your time. Okay, now these ones are more to do with tracking, and these ones I think is going to be the hardest for Valorant players because there is not any need for tracking. You rarely need to track in Valorant. Like, there's only been like, I'll say out of 10 gunfights, one of them you probably have to track. I wouldn't say tracking is useless. I would just say it's just not. It really doesn't happen. Valorant's not the type of game where you need to track too much. But yeah, this one is simple. You have to track, throw up, and I'd say go for the head more because I'm pretty sure the head gives you way more points. You can go for the body as well if it makes it easier for yourself. If you're really struggling with the head, I'd say go for the body. I'm not sure if the head does give more points, but I'm pretty sure that if you can track the body a lot more comfortably, I'll start going for the head more because it will help a lot in reactivity and tracking more. Because what you don't want to do, especially if you're tracking, because I do play Overwatch and Apex, so it's going to come from those type of games with tracking is you don't want to end up like going like that. You don't want to have it like everywhere. Like you don't want to react because it's going left, now you're just going there. You don't want to have like the shaky track. You want to have it smooth. So like if it moves left, you react to it. If it moves right, you react to it smoothly. You don't want to flick. You want to have like this flicking tracking type of style because you're going to end up missing a lot of shots, especially if they are moving erratically like in here. You just want to be smooth with it, hit as much shots as you can, and then slowly, like I think these last 4 are the ones people are going to struggle with the most. So I would say just don't worry about it, just take your time. If you feel like you need to up your sense, up your sense. If you feel like you need to lower it, lower it. Okay, for this one, the peak track, it's going to be really simple. It's basically orbs are going to come from either left or right. Doesn't matter, it could be up high, middle, or down. Essentially, all it is the same thing. It's tracking. It's like, try follow the orb as best as you can and try kill it before it hits the other side. And if it bounces left and right and you don't track it before it hits you, it doesn't really matter too much. Even I don't have the best score with this. I've barely just hit plat with this. Because it's very hard because especially some of the orbs can come out really small, which makes it hard like this one. And you have to try figure out the speed. So it's like the big ones, I would say they move faster. So with the big ones, I'd say use more arm to track with your wrist as well. It doesn't, you don't have to do it that way. Everyone has their own technique, but for the big ones, they move faster. So for me, to move faster, I have to use arm and then micro adjust with my wrist. And then for the smaller ones, I do the same thing. I use my arm, but I use less of my arm because it's going slower. And I use more my wrist. Like that. You can see it, you can tell the difference from that big one. The big one I was like moving my arm, you could definitely see it moving. And then for the one I just killed, you saw me using less of my arm and more my wrist. So yeah, I would say don't stress too much if you do better on this one, especially. I would say just let it warm up or let it warm up. Just give it a try. If you do bad, then it's fine. Maybe if you struggle a lot with tracking, I would say do more tracking scenarios in aim labs. You can literally just search up tracking and try learn those ones. And if you struggle on those ones, do the easy mode ones and just take your time with it really. Especially if you only play Valorant, I do not expect you to like even hit iron or bronze for the tracking scenarios, the last 4 scenarios. Okay, for the angle track, basically what's gonna happen is don't have to touch your keyboard. It's just gonna randomly move, so don't worry, your game's not broken. But essentially all it is you have to keep on this dot as much as you can while trying to be in a consistent speed. And I'll say for this one, I feel like a lot of people will end up just using the arm for this one, especially if they're playing on lower sense. But the problem is with that is, actually I wouldn't say it's a problem, but I would say because of the angles and stuff, I won't say it changes speed, but it can affect how your speed is perceived sometimes. Like it kind of throws you off. So I would say try hit the target and then try match the speed with it. Use your arm and wrist. So use your arm for the speed mainly, but use your wrist as well to add it into extra speed and to the micro adjust. Because let's say if I just use my arm here, it's like, yeah, I can hit, but you can see that there's like parts where my aim is kind of behind here, and that's where the wrist comes in. So let's say if I'm just using my arm, but if I use my wrist, I can micro adjust it slightly ahead so I'm able to hit more shots. For the adjust track, our orb is going to be floating left and right. So I would say my technique is tracking the orb left and right. Only use your wrist for left and right. That's my technique. You don't have to use it, but this is what works best for me. So I only use my wrist for left and right. Then I use my fingers to go up and down. So I'm able to match it and I don't have to, because it doesn't really go up and down like too much. Like it doesn't end up randomly going here. It will after you start getting the score. It will flick like that randomly. So you just have to keep doing the same thing again. Like it will just flick. But this is good. The more flicks you see the orb doing, the more better your score is. But I would say don't worry about it. And also you don't lose points if you miss. Just focus on matching this type of speed first. I would say if you're not too comfortable when it like flicks, just take your time with the initial, you know, the slowiness. Like if you're not comfortable with the flicks, just keep getting slow and try and match that orb, and you'll really start improving. I'm not crazy professional, but I do appreciate you guys watching the video, and hopefully I'll be making more soon.